you the person who understands the officially codified doctrine of Islam? You're the interpreter of that, so you can say, well, this is...
I'm actually well educated on this topic.
I'm asking you. So you're saying if I criticize you're saying that Islamophobia is not a real thing. That if you're critical of something...
Well, it's not a real thing when we do it.
Right.
Well, no,
it really isn't.
I'm not denying that certain people are bigoted against Muslims as people. And that's a problem.
Big of you.
But
why are you so hostile about this concept?
It's gross. It's racist.
It's not. But it's so not.
It's like saying those stateless, shifty Jew.
It's just like that. Welcome back to the arena. I'm Michael Coren. I remember when Ben Affleck had a career. But he's a very wealthy man. I think he's quite a good guy, actually. But he is, how shall I put it, an idiot. Because he's an actor and comes from a liberal family, he assumes that all of his views are valid. And it's this spasm of, if I criticize Islam, I'm a bad person. I can criticize Christians, I can call people homophobes, but if I criticize Islam in any way, and we'll show more of this later, where he quite clearly does not... I don't think it's he doesn't understand. He refuses to embrace that understanding because it frightens him. It shocks his worldview. The Bill Maher freedom and honesty debate, I suppose, and it continues. And this well-known atheist on TV, this TV host, he's not alone. I must emphasize, he's not alone in admitting that the real issue is Islamism. But he's been attacked by so many people, and including now the great philosopher and intellectual Ben Affleck. Anthony Furey is here to explain and to discuss. I think Ben Affleck's actually probably quite a nice fella. But is he frightened? Is that what it is?
No, I think he's just being typically politically correct, where one sees, and Americans on the left, particularly in this actor, appropriate culture realm, do have this basic idea of, okay, George Bush, and that's bad. George Bush, bad, because he's got the funny voice, he's from Texas, he's religious, he's Christian, bad, all bad stuff, and he went over and he fought some guys on the other side of the world, and they had darker skin, so they're the victims. Why? I don't know, that's the paradigm he thinks in. It's actually it's the racism of lesser expectations, it's very condescending, and he doesn't probe. And Sam Harris, who is the other fellow
we should explain, and that was, for people who don't know, I would say with Chris Hitchens, the late Chris Hitchens, and Richard Dawkins, one of the three best-known atheists in the English-speaking world. That was Sam Harris, who's on the left, as is Bill Maher, really.
Yeah, as is Bill Maher, as Hitchens more or less was, as Richard Dawkins more or less is. But they say, and other points he makes in that video, Sam Harris says, why don't you stand up for left-wing values? Because, of course, we know that many tenets of Islam do not look favorable on women. They do not look favorable on gays or on other ethnicities across the world, and particularly on other religions. Freedom is generally not par for the course there. And, of course, Ben Affleck was saying, oh, you're judging everyone by the same stripes, not all Muslims are terrorists. Michael, we've said this before. No one has ever said that phrase. No reasonable person has ever said they're all terrorists. But one thing that Sam Harris picked up on, I've been writing about this in a couple columns. Sure, you got that very small number of jihadi people who are terrorists, but then you have this wider circle of people who are not violent people, but they are Islamic supremacists. They are very aggressive in their views. Some of them live in Canada and North America. And I think it's fair to call those people out for their deeply misogynist, homophobic, and so on views.
We're going to see a longer clip now, which is directly pertinent to what you just said, because this is a very valid point. There are many Muslims who don't completely accept Islamic teaching. But those who do, who are not violent, who are appalled by ISIS but still accept Islamic teaching, if you ask them, do you believe your son should be able to leave Islam and just lead his life? Will they say, yes, that's fine? If your daughter was gay and wanted to marry another woman, or no, forget marriage, just wanted to be gay, what would you say to that? Would they answer, well, you know, it's Canada, Western values? No, they wouldn't. Let's see that longer clip now, please.
More than 1 billion people who aren't fanatical, who don't punch women, who just want to go to the store.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
Don't do any of the things, but you're saying all Muslims.
Wait a second.
Stereotyping. Wait a second. Things, and you painting the whole group religion with that.
No, let's get down to who has the right answer here. 1 billion people, you say. All these billion people don't hold any of these...
5 or something.
Don't hold these pernicious beliefs?
No.
I wouldn't...
Well, they don't.
That's just not true, Ben. That's just not true.
Can I just express how I think it breaks down in terms of
the idea...
You haven't even defined
you're trying to say that these few people, that's all the problem is, these few bad apples. The idea that someone should be killed if they leave...
That's horrible. That should
wait. You're saying that the idea that someone should be killed if they leave the Islamic religion is just a few bad apples?
The people who would actually believe and enact that you murder somebody if they leave Islam is not the majority of Muslims at all.
Okay.
He's a fool. He doesn't understand Islamic teaching. It's not whether Muslims believe this. What is the teaching of the religion? Now, until that teaching is reformed or reinterpreted or changed or distilled, this is the teaching, that you do not leave the religion. You cannot be gay. You cannot mock the primary religious text. You cannot make fun of Muhammad. This is not the teaching of ISIS.
You and I can't even do that,
no,
which is
exactly.
bizarre because we didn't sign up for it. The Pew Center did a very fantastic authoritative study on world Muslim opinion. A lot of people are afraid to do these opinion studies because they don't know what they're going to show. The evidence is a little scant in Canada. I wish we had more. We do know that the majority of Muslims in the greater Ottawa region would like to see some form of Sharia law in their life. We do know that the majority of Muslims in a number of European countries did support punishment for the Danish cartoons existing or being reprinted. We do know that a startlingly large number of Muslims did support severe punishment against Salman Rushdie for writing what is really just a banal, pretty sleepy novel. And that's the fact. And I wish it wasn't. I wish everyone was wonderful and hunky-dory, but they're not. And this is what the opinion studies show us.
If Ben Affleck, and this is not to pick on him, but he has a platform, but people have his opinion, and many have that opinion. If they understood, if they spent time within the Islamic communities in the diaspora and in the Muslim heartlands, they would meet a people who are often extremely generous and kind and welcoming. But if you ask, should Kurt Vestergaard, the cartoon of Muhammad, should that have been allowed? And they would say, no, obviously not. They say, you know, free speech, yes, they would say, but you can't do that. They believe in what they say is free speech, but that doesn't include the right to criticize in any way the Quran, the Hadith, Sharia law, or Muhammad. I don't know why people are so shocked by this. I suppose it's so different from what they're used to. And I think there is this fear factor. I don't mean physically frightened, but if they actually realize and confess that information, they understand that there is a clash of cultures, and that disturbs them deeply.
I think you make a fantastic point. I've received emails from readers who read the Sun papers, you and I's writing in Canada, very polite, well-written emails, articulate, where the gentlemen put forward their arguments, and they say, and drawing the cartoons in Canada should be banned. They say, no, beheadings are silly, but you should at least be, sentenced to community service or something for drawing cartoons. These are these folks' views.
Yeah, I know, and I think I'm optimistic at this stage, because when people like Bill Maher and Sam Harris and the rest of them, who have been so brutal about Christians, for example, for years, when they actually say, you know what, we haven't changed our views about Christians, but the real issue here is Islamism and perhaps even Islam, the Ben Afflecks of the world, I think they are reducing in number gradually. Gradually. It's taking time. There's still a lot of people who are in that camp, but they're beginning, maybe ISIS has achieved this. Their great achievement is for people to realize that might not be typical, but 92% of people in Saudi Arabia apparently support what they're doing. There are many who do. There are thousands across the world who are volunteering, and more if they could get there.
If you're a genuine non-believer like I am, like Bill Maher is, you're going to be equally critical of all religions, which doesn't mean putting the same amount of opprobrium on all of them, which means being mature, looking at how it is in the world today. Yeah, Christianity did some stuff 500 years ago that I don't think any Christian should be particularly happy to hear about, but now, what is the group doing the most heinous things? It's Islam. That's not an opinion designed to foster any racial animosity. That's just the truth of the facts, Michael. That's all it is, and I wish more liberal-leaning non-believers or right-leaning non-believers like me would feel that way.
Well said, well said. Thank you very much.